How's it going, folks? CR here, bringing you another gun control Q&A. We got a few interesting questions here I'd like to answer, so let's get right on it. Okay, so clearly the person who asked this question does not understand how government-issued weapons work in the service. So I'm going to explain this. Those firearms that soldiers are issued do not go to their personal residence at night. Those weapons get locked in the arms room. It is illegal for a soldier to take their issued firearm home with them at night. It is illegal if this service member so much as puts that government-issued weapon into a personally owned vehicle. So that should answer your question right there. Now, if this service member has their personally owned firearm, some service members do, some service members don't. You'll have to actually ask this particular service member whether or not they own their own firearm. And if they do, at this point, you're going to have to make a decision on what is more important to you. Living in this apartment with this service member with their firearm there, or living in a gun-free apartment. Because it is pretty messed up of you to sit there and say, well, man, I know I'm moving in, and I know you already have firearms, but could you find somewhere else to store them aside from this apartment we're living in here, because I have this irrational fear of firearms. So that choice is going to have to be on you, man. Okay, so with the way you've worded this question, you really make it difficult for people to actually see what you're really trying to get at. What you really should have said is, why can't we criminalize concealed carry and black rifles? That would have been more accurate. That's what you're talking about, I'm presuming. So, with this being said, people who have their concealed carry license generally fall into a very law-abiding category of people. In fact, if you look at the stats to this, they are probably the most law-abiding people in this country. As for civilian assault rifles, well, real assault rifles have been banned since 1986, and the only ones that are legal are the ones that were manufactured and registered prior to May 19th, 1986. I'm presuming now that you're talking about the black rifles, which are rifles that look like assault rifles, but they're not. So, again, the people that buy those rifles are law-abiding citizens. Again, those rifles are rarely used in crime. And in the U.S. nowadays, the AR-15 is the most popular rifle platform. So for it to be used in so few crimes makes very little sense to ban it. The thing is that I don't think that you're really concerned about the crimes, are you? It's just these people are engaging in a behavior that you don't approve of, and you want to criminalize it, and that's what you really mean to say. Okay, so I cannot tell if this question is actually a genuine concern from a firearm owner or a future firearm owner, or if this is a gun controller fishing for another strategy. Either way actually would not surprise me. Alright, so let's start off with the registered gun owners by the U.S. government. The only ones that are actually registered by the U.S. government are the owners of NFA Title II items. That's it. Now, With this being said, they cannot turn those records over to private entities. Sorry, that's illegal. With your everyday firearms that you go in and pick up at the gun store, that, those are not registered. That 4473 form is held at the FFL. The ATF cannot just come in and take the 4473 forms, for the purpose of creating a database. They can't go in and make copies of them and take the copies with them for that purpose of creating that database. That's illegal. The only exceptions to this is if the FFL is losing their license or closing down their business. Well, the ATF can get all the 4473 forms that are less than 20 years old. Or if the ATF is actually doing a trace on a firearm that they suspect or know was involved in a crime, then they can do that, and it has to be with this specific 4473 that's linked to that specific firearm. This, my friends, is why you should oppose universal background checks, and you should oppose a national registration. And it brings what is said in this question here much closer to reality. And if you think that a stunt like this is too low for the gun controllers to do, you just don't know them very well. I don't think there's any depth to where a gun controller will not sink when it comes to pushing their agenda. You have gun controllers posing as journalists. Well, yeah, they actually worked as journalists, but they're really gun controllers who took the information from New York, on people's gun licenses and published an interactive map to their homes. You've had gun controllers for the longest time abusing our civil court system in order to sue lawful gun manufacturers out of business. And it's not really even that they're expecting to win the case. They're just trying to put lawyer fee after lawyer fee after lawyer fee. And this is why the PLCAA is in place now, is because they were doing that. And for this case, currently with Remington Arms, I hope they win this, and I hope the people sue them have to pay all those attorney fees, as per that law. But, there's no depth. And yes, by the way, they have pressured banks to stop doing business with firearms, with the people in the firearms industry before, too. So this is definitely not an unfounded fear. Yeah, you're right. The police, if they're not omniscient and don't know where every crime is happening and can't teleport to each and every crime in time, there's got to be something wrong with that department. Which police department doesn't have psychics on duty 24/7 and have teleportation devices? Think about what you just said. I'm sorry, do you think a gang of thugs armed with baseball bats are going to stop and wait for the police to get there so their victim has a chance of surviving? I'm sorry, do you think a rapist is going to say, oh, okay, you called the police. Okay, well, let's wait for the police to get here and then they can try to stop me. Okay, so the person that posted this question also posted a link to an article about the recent spat between Chris McNutt and Dennis Bonnen. Chris McNutt is the leader of a gun rights group here in Texas, and Dennis Bonnen is the Texas Speaker of the House. So, basically what had happened is that Chris McNutt claimed that he was just posting flyers in the neighborhood about permitless carry. Dennis Bonin claimed that Chris McNutt went there to specifically harass his family over permitless carry. Now, I'm not going to get into the details on this spat. This is not what this question is about. To answer the question, though, well, I guess since we're using this type of logic, I mean, since Bill de Blasio and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez had that spat about Amazon, by that logic, I guess we can wonder why Republicans aren't gaining ground in New York City. Are you guys starting to see how fallacious this logic is here? Alright, now I'm going to wrap this up here, guys. I hope you got a bit of information from this. Y'all take her easy now and have a great day.